Hello all. Today I'm going to be taking a look at these Ringside Apex boxing training gloves and what my experiences have been with them over the past couple of years. Okay, so firstly, something of note, these gloves come in two sizes, or at least they do when you're looking at this particular variant of the glove, the training model, which implies that you can hit the bag and spar with them simultaneously, or rather, one right after the other. The sizes they come in is large XL and small medium. And what this means when you actually weigh it out is that these are 10 ounce and that these are 8 ounce. So a lot of you who've been into kickboxing and boxing for a while might know that it is somewhat unethical to spar in a glove quite this small. So labeling it as a training glove might be a little inaccurate. I would call this maybe a bag or a fight glove, if anything. Fight gloves usually being 8 or 10 ounces respectively. What's interesting to note about this glove is that it looks a lot bigger than it actually is. So for the longest time, I had been sparring, albeit light, in these because I had actually thought, by nature of them being labeled large or XL, that they had to be somewhere in the ballpark of about 14 ounces, but when I actually weighed them out, it came out to 10 ounces, as I mentioned earlier. If we flip them over and look at the construction of the glove, what does this actually have to offer? The outer layer here is some sort of synthetic material. I believe it is either like polyurethane or, what is the term? Vinyl? That's what you would call that. Any rate, this is what it looks like after about, let's say, about a year or two of use and abuse. You can see, if I zoom in here a little bit, that there's a little bit of fraying of the material on the palm side right here. The mesh is actually held up surprisingly well, which is a pro, but then again, I don't know if I've had the misfortune of getting it stuck on any Velcro between that time, so that obviously would, if that had happened, accelerate the age. But I seem to have been fortunate enough to not have had that happen. And then we flip it over one more time. We look at the knuckle side. You'll notice here there's a little bit of a dent, an out dent, coming from where this little damage in the material is. That's from the choice of foam, or not even foam, gel, I think it is, something like that. Yes, actually it is foam. I see right here on the thumb. It says IMF Tech, which means injection molded foam, which is responsible for a lot of the little dimples you will see in the material here. That's sort of just the nature of the material choice here when it comes to injection molded foam. You can see another little bit of a scuff in the material there. Something I should note is that I did say I abused these, which means I did leave these in my bag wet a couple times, which will definitely accelerate the age of these, but if you can get away with that 1 or 2 times, that's kind of a testament to the quality. But even the one time I think I left it in there, it's responsible for like most of what you see here in terms of like even like the padding on the palm side getting a little flatter after it absorbed the sweat and kind of changed in composition, I suppose, after being moisturized. So when I slide my hand in here, what is the actual fit and feel of the glove? The first thing that I really notice when I wear this glove, and I have this glove on my hand, is the hand compartment is a little bit narrow. For the longest time when I was wearing these, I was never able to get hand wraps in there along with them because the hand compartment was so narrow in that regard. It's not small or overall compact per se, but it is just overall generally more narrow than it is long. This is a generally quite long glove, which is partially why I kind of confused it for being a bigger glove for so long. Other than that, what is really notable about the hand compartment of this glove? The lining is reasonably soft, but then again, I've never had any particular issues with glove liners ever, to be honest. Maybe I just don't like to complain. If I'm really being picky, maybe this with a thumb juts against well, your actual thumb. That could be a little smoother, but that's just nitpicking. I mean, the liner's fine. It's pretty standard, sort of, I'm not sure what you'd call this material. I think it might say right here, says made in Pakistan, notable, but other than that, nah. On the inside, it has that standard warning that combat sports are generally dangerous, so in case you didn't know that, that's right there just to inform you. And now for the actual experience of using the glove. What does the glove actually feel like when you're not just putting your hand in it to diagnose the feeling of it initially? I'll give you a few seconds of me hitting the bag with this, and then I'll give you my verdict. I've used this several times before now, but I'll just give you a look at this just for the sake of ensuring you know I've actually had my hand in this, if the wear and tear wasn't actually making that too obvious already. So, one thing I will say is that the knuckle protection is actually pretty supreme as far as like a somewhat inexpensive to like mid to lower tier price glove. However, something you have to keep in mind, especially when you're on heavy bags and not like a makeshift aqua bag like that really absorbs impact really nicely, is that you're going to get a lot of force transfer through the wrist, or not even that, because the knuckle protection is good, as I said, and it will absorb 99% of what you're giving it. But the actual wrist support is pretty So this glove is kind of min-maxed in a way. If knuckle protection is your ultimate priority, it will serve you quite well. If you want actual pop and protection from the glove, the feeling of your knuckles sinking into the target you are delivering force to, you are going to be somewhat disappointed. These gloves, actually on normal bags and not something like that, are actually kind of irritating in my personal experience to use because they bounce so much by nature of having this injection molded foam on them there to such a degree. So if I were to rate this glove, I would probably give it a 3 out of 5 because the knuckle protection is pretty great, but there's not much else to it. The durability is meh. I'll just look back at the bits of scuffs here and there that kind of came as a result of its use. And yeah, the wrist support is probably the worst aspect of this. A lot of times you'll find your wrist buckling either direction when you do throw punches with this on a normal bag. So that can actually make it almost dangerous to use if you're not really mindful of keeping your wrist engaged when you do throw hands. So before I ultimately do conclude this review, I'd like to flash back to the second pair of gloves I bought of these in a smaller size. I couldn't tell you why I made this purchase. It may have been an impulse buy some years ago. But something of note is that I've only used these at home on softer bags, such as the one you see over there, or saw over there, as well as a slightly softer standard heavy bag. So the durability of these has held up comparably better than those. So that's also in part because I haven't taken them anywhere to train, and thus haven't also had the unfortunate consequence of occasionally forgetting to leave them or take them out of my bag and subsequently leaving them in there sweaty and degrading the durability, as I did a couple times with these. But that's something of note. So just looking at this glove though, when you have it in the smallest size here, which is 8 ounces, I do think the padding actually might be thicker around this palm side region here. If you look at it here, you can actually see the thickness a little bit on the side here. You can see that squishes a little bit. Whereas if I look at these, it's like non-existent. There's no squish to be had at all. And having more padding here would probably be an improvement to the design of this glove, considering how subpar A, this padding has held up when it was there, or B, the low quantity of the padding being an issue in this glove, at least in the larger size here. Whereas in these, you seem to actually get more padding on the palm side. What is my ultimate conclusion on these gloves? If you have an ideal set of circumstances, like a very soft heavy bag in tandem with good hygiene practices with them, I think they will hold up reasonably well, as the latter pair I have bought there have. But if you have had wrist issues in the past, or you'd prefer a glove that has more pop or more of a sinking feeling of your knuckles going through the padding, you would likely be better advised to get a different glove than these. So factoring in my own bad hygiene habits with these, and my good hygiene habits with these, as well as the reduced use of these, I might give these a 3 to 3.5 out of 5, ultimately, for the good knuckle protection, really bad wrist support, and okay durability, and the mid to lower tier price. So that is my review of the Ringside Apex Flash training gloves. Let me know if you like this review in the comments below. Comments help the algorithm. God knows we could use some. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.